So my little short about Jesus' birth did pretty well. So I was asked to do one for a full video. Audio clip demon?
What the hell do you want with me this time?
Could you find someone for me to talk to, please?
No, I don't think so.
You expect me to do this without referencing somebody?
Yes!
Oh boy. You heard it right. So I went looking around for someone to talk about the story of Jesus' birth from a biblical standpoint. Seems no one really wants to do it for this week. Wait. Did the intro really say faith around and find out? Audio Demon, that name is so corny. Can we come up with something better?
Oh, no. No.
Okay then, faith around and find out Friday. We needed this to be a thing anyway, so I guess. So if you faith around, I will help you find out what your beliefs actually say. So I suppose we should get into that, what the Bible actually says about Jesus' birth.
Let's do this!
So out of the 4 Gospels of the Bible, only 2 of them talk about the birth of Jesus. Those are Matthew and Luke. Mark and John start off with Jesus as an adult, and nowhere else in the Bible does it talk about the events of Jesus' birth. There are stories in the Gnostic Gospels that do reference in Jesus' birth, but in general, Christians reject them, so I won't talk about them in this video. Starting off with Matthew chapter 1, we can skip the genealogy for now, and start with Matthew chapter 1, verse 18. We read that Mary was pledged to marry Joseph, but before they were wed, she was found to be pregnant, stating it was through the Holy Spirit. Joseph was faithful to the law, but did not want to disgrace Mary for her perceived infidelity, and planned to divorce her quietly. When he made that decision, an angel came to him in a dream and told him that the conception was divine and not mortal. The angel said she was to give birth to a son, and he was to be named Jesus, with the goal of saving people from their sin.
Holy shit!
Oh, you are going to be a treat for this one, aren't you?
Maybe.
Can I finish, please?
Yes!
Thank you. So when Joseph woke up, he did as the angel commanded, and he married Mary, giving the baby the name Jesus. This ends chapter 1, and it continues on to chapter 2. Chapter 2 states Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea during the time of King Herod. Magi came from the east to Jerusalem to talk to Herod about asking him where the one born as King of the Jews is, telling him,
Nice to meet you, bitch!
No, they said they followed a star.
Oh, right. Of course.
King Herod didn't like this at all, and Jerusalem was right along with him and tried to find out where the Messiah was to be born. He got the priests together with the teachers and found that in the prophecies it was in Bethlehem. Herod called the Magi in secret and sent them to find Jesus and let him know so he could worship him. I suppose the frowny face Herod had was a bit too obvious. So the Magi took off following their star until it stopped over where the child was. They went into what is stated as a house and saw a child with Mary. They bowed and worshipped him, giving him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. A furry talking about myrrh. Anyway, they slept and had a dream where they were not to go back to Herod, and they went home, avoiding him. After they left, an angel appeared to Joseph in a dream. Lots of sleeping and dreaming here. The angel told Joseph to take Jesus and Mary and hide in Egypt and stay there until told otherwise to protect the Son of God from a mortal man, Herod. Joseph said,
Alrighty then.
and did as he was told, escaping into the night and stayed there until Herod died, fulfilling some prophecy that Jesus was to be called out of Egypt. Herod heard the Magi screwed him over, and Herod had all the boys killed in Bethlehem under the age of 2.
Sorry if that's weird.
Years later, after Herod died, an angel appeared to Joseph yet again, telling him to head on home, the coast is clear, and to head to Nazareth, so he would be called a Nazarene. This fast forwards to Jesus as an adult in chapter 3 of Matthew. So to recap, Mary was given a baby. Joseph thought she got dick elsewhere. Angel came and said, nah, it's a God's kid. Jesus was born in a house. He was visited by 3 magi sent by Herod as pawns. Another angel told him to fuck off and don't talk to Herod. They did fuck off, and Herod had a lot of children killed off. Joseph took Jesus to Egypt and came back years later to Nazareth while fulfilling prophecies along the way. That about sum it up?
That was a flawless presentation.
Excellent. Let's move on to Luke. Now, Luke mentions Herod right from the start and promptly forgets about him, but instead talks about Zechariah and that he and his wife will give birth to a son named John. 6 months later, the angel Gabriel came and talked to Mary, telling her that she has found favor with God, and because of this, he is going to knock her up with his child while she is still a virgin. He tells her of Zechariah's kid with his wife Elizabeth, but Mary's going to give birth to the Son of God. Mary agreed and left to see Elizabeth in Judea, where Herod was king, according to Luke verse 1. So when Mary greets Elizabeth, her baby kicked, and they made a big deal out of it. Mary stayed with Elizabeth for 3 months, putting that about the time Elizabeth would give birth, because math.
Wait, what?
6 months plus 3 months, 9 months.
Oh, right. Of course.
Elizabeth did give birth and named the kid John. Now, this was a big deal since everyone but Mom wanted to name the kid after Dad, and Dad wrote John anyway. See, even back then, men knew better than to piss off their wives, let alone God.
That would be more effective.
At this point, a Roman census was issued, calling for everyone to return to their hometown, so Joseph left Nazareth in Galilee to Bethlehem in Judea. Mary was still carrying Jesus when making the trip. Mary went into labor and, without a room at the inn, laid Jesus in a feeding trough. Angels appeared to the shepherds in the fields nearby, telling them about the birth of the Messiah. They told them the baby was laying in town in a manger, feeding trough, and they went to see. On finding the baby, Mary and Joseph, they ran out and openly spread the word to everyone that would listen to tell them about the baby and his
Pure angelic power!
They then left and went back to the fields to tend their flocks. On the 8th day, they had the baby circumcised, and this was when he was named
Jesus fucking Christ!
Apparently ACD has finally found Helsing Ultimate Abridged.
Nailed it!
I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that. Wow. When the time came for the purification rites, they brought Jesus to Jerusalem to be consecrated at the temple, sacrificing 2 doves or pigeons. Several named people came to see Jesus, and Joseph and Mary traveled back home to Nazareth. From here, the Bible skips through 12 years, so we will stop here.
5 stars!
Really great!
Thank you, Audio Clip Demon.
So, what do you think?
I think these are 2 completely different stories. Other than the 3 main cast members, those 2 accounts are nothing alike.
That's understandable.
So here, let's go over a bit more of the incompatibilities between the 2 by asking a few questions, starting with the ones easily reconciled. Where was Jesus conceived? In the book of Luke, it's made clear by chapter 1, verse 26 that he was conceived in Nazareth. In Matthew, it is not perfectly clear, but states he was born in Bethlehem at the start of chapter 2. Without a reference to travel, chapter 1 doesn't give a location, so it can be assumed he was there in Bethlehem. How can we reconcile this? Well, this one is just weak. The Christian can simply state that just because Matthew doesn't say they traveled, that they didn't travel from Nazareth. And that's fine. There is plenty more to go. How far along in pregnancy did Joseph find out about it? In Matthew, it was deep into pregnancy when Mary started showing. Joseph finds out in chapter 1, verse 18, while in Luke, between the 2 chapters. It seems like he always knew and knew who it was. This can be reconciled by pointing out that Luke is more from Mary's perspective, while Matthew is written more from Joseph's, and thus it just doesn't mention the angels telling Joseph. It's a bit weaker of an explanation, and the books feel as if they were intentionally written to be obscure about it. But it is an explanation that makes sense, so we can give this one a pass. Now we'll get on to the parts that are harder to explain away. Who knew about the coming and birth of Jesus? For this, Mary, Joseph, and the angels know. Other than that, remember in Matthew, everything was kept secret, so the only ones that were spoke of and thus knew were Herod, his followers, the Magi, and that's it. The people in town didn't even know about Jesus. But in Luke, holy crap, like everyone knew. The innkeeper, the shepherds, the significant amount of people in town, the priest that did the circumcision, Elizabeth, her family, and that's just the start. Then you have the priests at the temple where Jesus was consecrated. Everyone at the temple that day, there was shouting and hooting everywhere, according to Luke. And why? In Matthew, they were trying to hide him from Herod. But it seems in Luke, they weren't worried about King Herod at all. Can this difference be reconciled?
No, I don't think so.
The audio clip demon is correct. If we assume that both are true, Joseph and Mary are being highly reckless and loud as they are running away. So it's not so much running away at all. Thousands of people knew about the birth of Jesus as the Messiah. So in one, they are trying to run away and hiding, while in the other, they're not, and instead went straight to Jerusalem for praise and consecration, where Herod was that supposedly is trying to kill him. Where was Jesus taken after everything was said and done? Was it Egypt as stated in Matthew, or was it Nazareth as stated in Luke? It can't be both. This goes back to the previous point. You can't be in two places at once. This is irreconcilable, plain and simple, especially taking into account that in Matthew they arrive in Nazareth while Jesus is several years old, and in Luke he is still an infant. There are more discrepancies between the two. Was it Magi that visited Jesus in a house and gave him gifts? Or was it shepherds that went to a manger and brought nothing? Did the angels appear to Mary and Joseph in their dreams, or did they physically appear in front of them? The two Gospels say different things, and in Matthew itself, at the end of chapter 2, in verse 20, Mary and Joseph are told by an angel of the Lord in a dream that they were safe to go back because the people that were trying to kill Jesus were dead. And in verse 22, almost as a footnote correction, they are warned of Archelaus in a dream and went on to Nazareth.
Wait, what?
It literally reads like someone went,
You know what? This was a mistake.
he is supposed to fulfill a prophecy. Oh, just put another angel in there and say they went there instead.
How does it feel to be such a total failure?
But there are not only issues regarding this part of the Bible. There are issues in Jesus' bloodline, too.
No, really.
Now, Luke and Matthew start in different places. So, lining up, they start with Abraham. They both agree on the genealogy between Abraham and King David.
Yeah, bitch.
But from there, they go completely off the charts. To the point, for making this video, I planned on lining up the two to see where they might differ. But after King David, nothing lines up until you get to Joseph and Jesus. In fact, they disagree on who Joseph's father is. In Luke, it's Heli, and in Matthew, it's Jacob.
Wait, what?
In fact, I could not find a single name on the two lists between King David and Joseph, making it a real challenge to believe any part of this genealogy at all. Not to mention that in Matthew there's 42 generations, while in Luke there's 56. So what happened in Matthew that they lost 14 generations of people? Or did they somehow find 14 generations of people in Luke? Believers in this mythology are going to have a hard time justifying all of this if the lineage up to their Messiah is this bafflingly broken in what is supposed to be the infallible Word of God. But they do try. The general excuse is that one of the lineages is from Mary, while the other is from Joseph. And I was even given a short video when I was in Discord presenting the issues with the two different sets of lineage. The main excuse for the difference is that the two books are talking about two different Josephs, Mary's father and her husband. But in Luke it says, son, so it was thought of Joseph, meaning Mary's husband, Joseph. So that must be Joseph's line and not Mary's, right? That would leave Matthew as Mary's line. So if that is the case, then why does it say Jacob, the father of Joseph, the husband of Mary, and Mary, the mother of Jesus? These both are clearly talking about the same Joseph, and neither of them are talking about Mary's lineage. It is quite clear in a plain reading that both lineages are talking about the father line to Jesus, and neither are talking about the father line to Mary. Else, one of them would have said father of Mary, mother of Jesus. Both of them even refer to Joseph as not being the father of Jesus and inferring God is the father of Jesus through
Pure angelic power.
I was starting to wonder where you went, ACD.
So, how can I help you?
Are we done with this one yet?
Yeah. Bye.
You're leaving? Seriously? Well, fine. I'll just close this off myself. God, he leaves. Anyway, I am Corsi, and this is the Fluffy Atheist. If you like this, pet those like and subscribe buttons. Show this to share a funny video or to point and laugh. I'm good either way.
That was a flawless presentation.
Oh, fuck you.